Hey everybody, JP here at Fontaine Landscaping. We've got ourselves a nice, wet, cold, rainy day here. It's a perfect day to fertilize our trees and shrubs. One thing that a lot of people overlook is just that, fertilizing of trees and shrubs. It's super easy, extremely inexpensive, and it's something that can go a real long way in terms of making your trees and shrubs big, strong, have nice color, and grow really quick. And so for different types of trees and shrubs, I typically like to use different types of fertilizer. Generally, we categorize them into two groups. We've got our deciduous trees, just like this autumn blaze maple I got right here. And then we've got some other different trees over here, our evergreen type trees. These aren't actually a true evergreen. They are cone bearing though. We call these a tamarack. They lose their needles every year. But they still love a nice acidic soil, just like your spruce, pines, firs, cedars, junipers, things like that. Anyway, so what I've got here is just a granular slow release fertilizer. Typically what I use on all my trees and shrubs that are deciduous of nature is just a well-balanced, usually a 20-20-20 fertilizer, slow release. And you're going to want to apply that typically starting anywhere mid-May around now, and you never want to fertilize past probably about July 1st. What happens is if you fertilize beyond July 1st, you're going to be stimulating too much growth on that tree late in the year. Sometimes the tree's not going to harden off quite as well as it should, and you can suffer a little bit of dieback and things like that over winter if you're stimulating too much growth later in the season. So we want to keep that fertilizing to generally sort of a mid-May up until July 1st. That's when our trees and shrubs are going to be the most actively growing and we can get our most bang for our buck. And so generally with a different size tree, what I like to do is generally fertilize the area sort of around the outside of the crown of the tree. That's where most of your roots are going to be, that are going to actually be the small fibrous root. They're going to be absorbing all the nutrient and water for that tree. And so for a tree of this size here, generally about a handful of this is good. Now I just basically take this fertilizer here, sprinkle it around the perimeter of the tree, and that's really it. Like I say, this can be done super inexpensively. Basically like a buck a tree, you know, it'll cost you every year to fertilize. Super cheap, and it goes a long way. So right there we've got our 20-20-20 on this Amur or autumn blaze maple here, and then over this side here we've got tamarack right here. So the tamaracks, now they're going to be one of our trees, just like any evergreens, that are going to be acid loving. There also are actually a few other trees and shrubs as well too, things like dogwoods, hydrangeas, that actually love a nice acidic soil too. So with those you can use an evergreen type fertilizer on them as well too. What I use on my evergreens generally is a 30-10-10 evergreen food. That fertilizer has some built-in aluminum sulfate in it, which actually helps to acidify the soil. Here in southern Manitoba, of course, we have an extremely alkaline soil, so it can be a little bit tough to grow evergreens successfully. And if we fertilize with a proper 30-10-10 evergreen food, what that's going to do now is also enhance the acidity in the soil there, which in turn helps these trees absorb nutrients as they should. And so once again, same thing here. This tree's a little bit larger, a little more established. So I'm just going to sort of go around here. This one here, I'm going to use about 2 large handfuls. I'm just going to go around the tree, sprinkle around the outside of the perimeter here, and then that tree's going to be able to absorb all those nutrients. So essentially now with that slow release fertilizer, it's going to work for us for the next couple months or so to feed these trees. That's literally all we need to do. Just takes a few minutes and very little money, and you can get a real good bang for your buck and get your trees growing like crazy.